Hello, and welcome to NAEA's 12th Town Hall, Art Education and Design, looking at student pathways. In a minute, you will meet some very special guests that are joining us for this conversation, and we welcome all of you to this space and event this evening. Tonight, we also want to do a shout out to all of our National Art Honor Society and Junior Art Honor Society students and sponsors that might be joining us in the audience. We love you and appreciate you and are so glad that you're joining us. At the end of tonight's town hall, we have a very special announcement. So please make sure you are tuned in all the way until our end time, right before 8 p.m. Eastern. I'm Mario Rosero. I have the great privilege and honor of being the executive director of the National Art Education Association. And I always like to say I'm a former classroom teacher. I taught elementary, middle school art, and then I was an art supervisor in Chicago Public Schools and Pittsburgh Public Schools before starting this national work, and really glad to be working with this community of art educators across the country and internationally. So before we get started, I always like to take a moment to acknowledge the native lands that we are all occupying. I live in Washington, D.C., and that is home of the Piscataway. And one of the reasons that we take a moment to acknowledge this is because we realize not everyone has had opportunities for inclusivity and for equity. And these are still things that we are facing and working on today, but we like to honor and recognize those folks and give them our love and respect. So if you ever want to discover where you might be in the world and whose native lands you're on, nativelands.ca is a great site where you can search that and identify the native folks in your area. We also want to just send everyone a shout out and warm regards for the 20th month of surviving and persevering through COVID and all its effects. And we know that this group of arts educators is really resilient and steps up to the task, but we also want to make sure that you are taking care of yourselves, and you're going to hear some tips for self-care from our guests this evening. So just a reminder, we host these town halls so that we can have real life conversations with our members, meeting them where they are and really tackling things that are top of mind. And so we're really excited to talk about a few things this evening, which is this overlap between opportunities for our young people as they move through their school career and start to look at college and career outside of K-12. Look at design pathways and intersections, and we have some experts that are joining us. But also just think about how do we really build from the National Art Honor Society and the Junior Art Honor Societies, and that great work, because these are two groups that really utilize arts in service to their communities. And we know that the honor societies embrace young people that are both on the path to becoming artists, but also those that have a passion for the arts in their lives and may go on to do something else. So we really want to honor those programs, and we're so excited that folks are in the audience tonight from those. So the format for our conversation tonight will be a long conversation, which is essentially a relay. And I'm going to explain it. I promise it'll all make sense and work out beautifully. We start with a pair of individuals. We have person A and person B. They're in conversation for 6 minutes on the clock. At minute 5, they'll have a warning to wrap up. And in that last minute, they'll make sure they close out their conversation. Person A will exit, person B stays, and then person C comes in and the conversation continues. If that makes sense, great. If not, don't worry about it. You're going to see it unfold in front of you, and it's going to be beautiful. The reason we do this is because it's a great way to have a conversation topic move across different vantage points and to be spoken about from folks who have different experiences. And so you can watch that thread unfold and hear some firsthand experiences and some expertise on these areas. So before we jump into that, just a reminder, if you need to turn on the live transcript for closed captioning, that's available at the bottom of your screen. And we also recommend speaker view as the best way of viewing the conversations this evening. So please keep the chat active, and my team, and when the panelists have a moment, might be able to address some things in the chat, and we have some links to share with you. Please keep that active, and we're going to go ahead and jump in. So please join me in welcoming our first guest, Tanner Flurry. National Art Honor Society Executive Board member student who is a senior at Batavia High School in Batavia, Illinois. Tanner, welcome so much to the conversation.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So before we get into the member questions, I just want to hear a little bit about how visual arts and design fit into your school day and also into your personal interest.
So I've always been really interested in art. And so I've been lucky enough that Batavia offers so many different art and design classes. And so I've been taking as many art classes as possible through the high school. So I've taken classes like photography, interior design, fashion design, 2D art and 2D art advanced, and AP art, which I'm taking right now.
That's great. Can you tell me, I know we talked about this a little bit in rehearsal, but is there, you talk about two-dimensional art is really kind of your go-to. And so like, I know when I make art, drawing is my number one thing. That's where I start. Is there any material or tool that you find yourself immediately going to first?
I'm a pen and ink artist, so
Nice.
I like to keep it black and white. Yep.
Yep, I love that. I love the feel of the nib with the ink on the paper. Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
I can work on that all day. So our colleague Lindsay, who's in Washington, D.C., asks, how can art educators provide more opportunities for student voices to be heard in art and design processes, as well as in non-traditional pathways? What do you think?
So one of our biggest non-traditional and extra art and design things we offer at the high school is Batavia's Rock the Runway, which is a wearable 3D art fashion show. And the only rule is that you cannot use fabric. So it's a really cool fashion show. I'm one of the lead creative directors for it. And it's a great way, even if you aren't a quote unquote artist, to really get a start in art and design. And it's a truly one of a kind show. We also offer a new club this year, which is a Future Creative Professionals Club, which will offer you intel of what you need and what you need to do to apply to art schools. And then we also have an art signing day, which is a really good way to honor the arts. And it's basically like if you were a student athlete and you were getting signed to continue your athletic career, it's the same way. So if you're an artist and you're a senior graduating and you're continuing to go into an art and design field, you'll be having a signing day to honor you.
I love that idea. And I can imagine a lot of folks here tonight might borrow that idea for their own schools. I'm curious, so with Rock the Runway, I'm guessing that you've probably participated in this for a few different years. If you can't use fabric, can you tell us what materials you might have used?
Yeah, so I have used shower curtains, beads, paper mache, foam flower sheets. I usually use, those are my main things I usually use every year consistently.
That's great. And then you said a creative director role this year for that?
Yes, I'm one of the lead creative directors, so I'm on kind of the group for it. Yeah.
I was going to say, what does that entail?
So if you're a creative director, you're basically running the show and making a lot of the calls. So you'll be designing the stage set, setting the theme, just working on every aspect of the show, kind of behind the scenes to make sure you have the best show possible.
I so appreciate that, because so many times someone outside of the arts or design, they think that it's all one thing, and there are so many different roles that go into any production or any art making. And so I love this idea that students are taking on all the different roles, both behind the scenes and on stage, both as artist and designer, but also this, the idea of being the producer, the curator, in charge of pulling the vision together is something that artists are called upon all the time. So really love that you're getting that experience. So additionally, I had a lot of questions that were submitted from different attendees who wanted to know how you got involved with the National Art Honor Society and what advice you would give to other students who are interested in the program.
So just being in all the art classes, it's been advertised that National Art Honor Society is a great club and chapter to join for just artists that are looking to be surrounded by like-minded people. And it's really been a truly great experience. And being on the board now for it, you kind of see all the things that go into it, and it's really been amazing. And one of the best things I kind of like about it is that you get to give back to the community and really integrate arts throughout earlier ages so that they know about it and are more inspired to join, let's say, NAHS when they get to high school.
Excellent. And before we get to our last question, I wonder if you might tell our audience what your future direction and plans are right now.
So I'm planning to continue and going into an arts and design field, and I'm leaning towards fashion design as of now.
Excellent. Well, you have our full support behind you. We're so excited for your future. So we always, our last question we close out every conversation is, what are your tips for self-care?
So my favorite type of self-care is just relaxing and reading a book. I'm a huge bookworm. That is probably one of my favorite pastimes. And so I've read many books throughout these hard times just to try and relax and escape for a little bit.
It's so needed to have those getaways, right? Those go-tos.
Yeah.
Yeah, excellent. Well, Tanner, really a pleasure to have this conversation with you, and I wish you all the best. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, please join me in welcoming Dawn Selkis, NEHS and JHS Division Coordinator for Illinois Art Education Association, Art and Design Educator, and NEHS sponsor for Batavia High School in Batavia, Illinois. Dawn, welcome to the conversation.
Hey, Tanner, thank you.
So Kellen from Michigan is curious, what is one specific project you want art and design students working on in high school to add to their portfolio for college?
I don't think there's one specific project. I think it's more of a shift in focus to experience and building skills. I want my students to have art making experiences where they have choice and they're able to develop their personal voice and style, but still focusing on some technical skills. I want them to have experiences in the design field where they build skills in leadership, risk-taking, perseverance, experiences that involve working on ideation with their peers inside and outside of the field. I want them to live at the edge of their comfort zone artistically and collaborate with peers representing a myriad of perspectives. Their portfolio, in the end, in my opinion, would hold a multitude of experiences that highlight their artistic voice and style. For some examples, I, as Tanner was talking about, run BHS Rock the Runway with my students. It's a student-run wearable art show. They create garments of anything except fabric. Like Tanner said, she's a lead creative director. Students are fashion designers, models. We have graphic designers. We have students running our social media. We have other students canvassing for donors and sponsors. We have student makeup artists, hairstylists. They conceptualize everything from the stage and lobby decor to cutting music, working on lighting. And they share these real world experiences through management direction. Another project I do with my students is in the classroom is an Automata Project, where we do a crossover with the engineering class, the Project Lead the Way class, and the building trades class. That's with my 3D art class. And this allows for them to jointly create this movable sculpture. There's a lot of collaboration occurring, learning communication skills.
The next question is from Lisa from Utah, and she asks, how do you see curriculum for 2D visual arts secondary changing in the near future to entice students into trades and careers?
I think working more with industry professionals to develop internships, opportunities for students to foster real world skills and experience in the art and design field, showing students what it has to offer, letting them try a pathway and see if it's a good fit, giving them opportunities to network and make connections. At our school, we have a link program that links students into different fields, not just art and design, but any field that they'd want an internship in. Brings professionals into your building, help guide, inspire, and mentor your students. Take part in community partnerships and projects that get students' work seen on many platforms, community murals. Our graphic design teacher works on a banner project that puts students on banners all over our community. She links with the record store. They create t-shirts and screen print t-shirts for the record store in our school. Our NAHS does grant writing with local grant writers. They work about bringing artistic change into the community. And as Tanner said, we have the Future Creative Professionals. They're hosting a creative college and career fair with NAHS coming up, and also the idea of bringing alumni back into your room and sharing their college experiences and current careers.
The next question is from Marissa from Connecticut, and she wants to know, how do you start an art and design career pathway in your school, and how do you see NAHS and JHS chapters contributing to these pathways?
I think to start with, a lot of schools, the art and design program is separate from the CTE program, and there's a lot of arts-based CTE classes that should be integrated into the art and media department. And then again, I can't stress enough, these real world experiences, some of getting your community involved, some of your greatest support's gonna come from your parents in your community. Start a parent booster organization, create community partnerships where professionals come into your classroom, critique, mentor, inspire, ideate with your students. I see NAHS as the creative leaders of the school. Work with them on community design projects that help demonstrate this to your community, help them lead their way forward. This could be creating a safe outdoor space for community entertainment, bringing a free Art Friday experience to your city, sponsor an Empty Bowls event, or any other way to bring people together through an arts-based service project to make change in your community.
And then our last question to wrap it up is, what are your tips for self-care?
I like practicing yoga and then meditating, just having that kind of quiet time to kind of let everything leave my mind. So.
Yep, thank you so much for your insight and for your time.
Thanks, Tanner. I'd now like to introduce Dwayne Edwards, founder of Pencil from Tualatin, Oregon. Hey, Dwayne, it's great to see you. Welcome.
Hey, nice to see you as well. Thank you very much for having me.
Are you ready to get started?
Yeah, let's go.
Okay. So tell us a little bit about the work that your organization does.
Sure. Pencil is, I would say, ultimately a professional development academy. What we do is we introduce aspiring designers to careers that sometimes they didn't even know existed. And those careers are, anywhere from footwear design, functional apparel design, color and material design, sample making, prototyping, 3D design. And we are able to do all of this through a lot of our corporate partners. We have some amazing corporate partners that make a lot of the education that we actually teach free to all of our students that are part of our programs. And then in the end, ultimately, these partners also open their doors to these students for possible internships as well as full-time positions within their organization.
That sounds amazing. Our colleague Gail from Illinois, she's curious to hear your response to this question. How might you approach integrating human-centered design and design thinking into the K-12 art room, art teacher space?
I would say, honestly, find a way to trick them into learning. And what I mean by that is, find an object or a product that they're genuinely interested in on a daily basis. And for us, obviously, it's sneakers. We use sneakers as a teaching tool that teach kids from geometry with pattern nesting to color choice, color selection, storytelling through graphics. I think the more that you can connect the kid to their everyday existence and really explain to them all the opportunities that these things and these objects that they see and interact on a daily basis, how they could actually turn into possible careers that they can one day either attend college to actually create and design for, or even at some point get a job for. I think that is a simple way of really tricking them into learning and getting them engaged into just everyday objects that you're really trying to, help elevate their creative juices.
I love that idea of tricking them into learning. And Wendy wants to know, in what way do you think virtual reality will affect the future of design? And how should we prepare students for it, its use and its creation?
Well, first they got to figure out balance. But I think beyond that, I think what it really does is I think it really helps creatives kind of experience digital objects as real objects. And that type of conditioning really trains their brain at some point to start to look at 2D objects as 3D objects. So I think the idea of VR really helps them better see the object, not from just one view, but from a 360 view, with the idea of hopefully they'll become a more well-rounded creative as they start to create, whatever they start to create. And so as they're designing on a 2D surface, they're designing that 2D surface, understanding the 3D possibilities of what is around the corner when they turn the object around.
So many attendees tonight, they're interested in hearing about what skills and experiences you think are most critical for our learners to be prepared for an art and design career. What's your advice?
I would say I'm old school, where I think the best tool that you have is your brain. And the more that we can develop that relationship between the brain's interaction and with what your hands are doing, that's going to elevate you creatively. I know that there's so many new digital tools and things that we can use, but I would absolutely say that learning and perfecting your hand skills and that development of the brain to really help your brain communicate properly with your hands, that to me, like, your brain is the most valuable software that we have. And once you are able to use those digital tools, once you've mastered the hand skills, the digital tools become so much easier to process.
Thanks, Dwayne. And then finally, what are your tips for self-care?
I would say for me, I do things that turn my brain off. I am someone who thinks all the time, and I have trouble sleeping at night because I'm always thinking about something. So two things that I do often when I want to disconnect is, one, I just sit and watch water move. I have a river in the back of my home, so I just sit there and stare at the water as it's moving. And then the other is actually looking at squirrels. Where I live, I have so many squirrels running around, chasing each other, eating all the fruit off my trees. That it's just fascinating to me just to see how intuitive they are. At first, though, I did try to overthink it. Like, I was trying to understand, how did they move and how can they climb trees and do all these things. And it was just one day where this one squirrel just kind of looked back at me, almost like, dude, like, just enjoy me for who I am. Don't try to overanalyze me. And so for me, is, watching water move and moving and looking at squirrels move just helps me disconnect.
Thanks, Dwayne, for sharing with us.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you. So thank you now is my turn, and I have the pleasure of introducing Jamie. So Jamie Cormack, who is the co-founder of Herschel Supply Company in Vancouver, BC, one of my favorite cities in the Northwest. Jamie, welcome to the conversation, sir. How are you today?
Dwayne, I'm great. Good to see you again.
Yes, good seeing you. I don't know about you. It's a little sunny today. What's going on in Vancouver?
100% sunny up here.
There we go. All right. As we both know, we gotta enjoy those days when we can get them. Because we don't get them too often. But before we get into it, can you share with the audience a little bit about your role at Herschel?
Sure. Role at Herschel, I look after product and brand. So really what the brand looks like today, what the product pipeline looks like today, and what it's going to look like over the next 5 to 10 years. And that's really what we're focused on. That's tone, that's from the studio, more imagery, right through to kind of every piece of product. And the nice thing is I really look after design, manufacturing, and development. So I see that entire pipeline, and it's nice to see every touch point.
Nice. So when people hear that, they'll probably think like, whoa, wait, like, does he have an interest in art? What's the background? Can you share a bit with the audience? How were you introduced to art? Like, how were you introduced to design?
For sure, and it came a pretty natural way. It actually came through graphics. And
okay.
Yeah, in the early days, started skateboarding a lot, and that led me to when snowboarding started, kind of that pioneering time of snowboarding, and it was really graphics that drew me into it. From there, it led me to surfing, and then even starting a snowboard magazine, a small one, locally. But really, I think what got me into that design side was seeing the technical end of snowboarding and the development and being around it, from apparel and technical apparel and boots and bindings and that end of it. That's really where everything came from, is those kind of 3 elements.
That's cool, because now that I think about it, like, that whole snowboard culture, skateboard culture, surf culture really has a collision of art and design together through exactly what you mentioned, the graphics and the colors and the choices that they used. That's actually really cool. I never thought about it that way. We do have a question. So Elisa from New York asked, about careers in visual art and design. Can you tell us more about how does those careers interact at Herschel in the work that you do, either yourself or with the team?
Sure, sure. And I would say on a team front, our big goals, I always say Herschel is a design company at the core. When I
Nice.
talk about that, I know you've spoken about this before, but we want to use design to solve problems. And that's our scenario around here. And really the nice thing about Herschel is that we don't outsource anything. We do everything in-house. So every touch point you see end to end is done in-house. And with that being said, it gives a lot of ownership to our team on the product side, on the art side, on the photography side. And I think it's a real mandate for me to make sure that we're perfect on the front end of the business and the back end of the business. And it comes right down to an internal PDF, has to look and feel on right through to external, what an end consumer is going to see, or how we're going to open a retail store. So it's a lot of fun, and you have a lot on your plate. But I got to tell you that I know the team really enjoys it, because they get to, right from ideation through completion, they get to see it through, and also they get to be involved in every touch point. So there's a lot more ownership.
That's very cool, man. So I heard two things there. One, job security. Two, the second thing I heard is that you get to touch multiple parts of the process when you're at Herschel, which I think is super valuable for creatives, not to be one-dimensional and have that ability to touch multiple things creatively.
I appreciate
Very cool.
that.
Yeah, thank you.
It is fun for people to do the best work they've ever done in their life when they're here, and I want to set them up for success at that. And I think that's my job, is to set everybody up for anything they need. If they don't have it, that's on me. I need to give it so that they're set up to do the best work they've ever done. So
That's great. Spoken just like a true leader. There we go. So last question, self-care.
Yeah.
So, I watch water move and squirrels move. What do you do for self-care?
we're not that far off. I'm not on the squirrel train right now, but that water, Vancouver, as you know, you said it was favorite city. So it's in the foothills and the mountains and on the ocean. I spend a lot of time with my family snowboarding, and I spend a lot of time fishing on our ocean. Ocean and the water really calms me. It's the one place I can really ground myself. So that's it. Very
cool. So these are the benefits that people don't know that the Pacific Northwest offers.
We got
really organically. All right, cool. Very, very much. Thank you very much, Jamie. I appreciate the time, and we're gonna actually reconnect a little bit later, because we have something else to talk about that's pretty exciting. So let me welcome Mario back into the conversation. Hopefully you're hearing it. Did we get your self-care, Mario? Did we get yours early?
We didn't get my self-care, but I appreciate you holding me accountable.
All right.
I've been trying to re-engage with my yoga practice.
Okay.
And I got a pandemic cat named Millie, which I think a lot of folks know about, but Millie helps calm those nerves. But I always have my sketchbook with me.
Okay.
And I try to dedicate, if not daily, at least weekly practice. And that turns into, journal, sketches, ideas.
Very cool.
List of things to do, but it really holds everything. And it helps, just processes help my mind be at ease and be calm and make me feel like I have a plan. So
nice. Very cool.
Thank you for checking in with me. Appreciate it. Yeah. So we're having this is such a great conversation. And I'll wait till the end. I'm going to share all my notes about what I heard from the four of you, but just really great ideas and strategies for art education and design education and a path forward. So I hope all of our guests here tonight, I know the chat's really active. They got lots of ideas to walk away with. So appreciate that.
Yeah. And thank you again, Dwayne. That was amazing. And I think it's now time to talk about those final touches we've been putting on that program you had mentioned, Dwayne.
Oh yeah. All right. So can't believe we're almost to the end already. That was pretty quick. So we do have some really exciting news to announce. What we've been working on, Herschel Supply and Pencil and NAEA for the last few months, what we've been working on is this nationwide NAEA, Herschel Supply, Pencil, NAEA, National Art Honor Society students, grades 9 through 12. We have an amazing opportunity for you with our very first annual Herschel Workshop Design Challenge. All right. So that was a mouthful, but let me tell you what it's all about. The idea here is, Herschel Supply reached out to us and we had a great conversation. We share the same visual insights of how do we inspire and uplift high school students to look at ways to create their future. And so we settle on this backpack design challenge, and we're opening it up specifically to 9 through 12 in the National Honors Society students. And this is the details of how this competition or this challenge will roll out. So it actually opens today. So starting today, you can start to download templates and understand what the competition is. I'm sorry, the challenge. I keep saying competition because it's more of a challenge than a competition. It starts today. Go to pencil.com. You'll see all the information. But ultimately, it ends on December 8th. And on December 8th, that is when we accept the last final designs. But you can submit your designs in 2 different categories. The first category is in graphic design. So if you're not too well versed at designing something from scratch, we'll give you a template, we'll give you a backpack, blank backpack, and then you can create all the visual and color expression that you can think of and create. The second one is in the field of product design. So the first one is graphic design, the second one is product design, where now it's completely blank. And now you can just redesign a backpack of your choice. You decide where the pockets go, where the straps go, where the zippers go, where the graphics go, where the color goes. You have 2 options of entry, both on the graphic design side and then also on the product design side. Now you can also submit for both. It doesn't have to be an either or. You can do actually both of them if you wish. We're launching this specifically with the National Honor Society students. As I mentioned, it's grades 9 through 12. You'll have a lot of the different materials on the website. You can download, kind of templates, as I said. The idea, though, is for you to submit all of it through our portal at pencil.com. Once we get all the submissions on December 8th, and I know usually when we have these challenges, the majority of the submissions come in the last 3 days. For some reason, students do all their best work, quote unquote, their best work, the last few days of the challenge. But you can, once December 8th comes, we'll review all of the submissions and we'll edit those submissions down to the top 20. Those top 20 designs between both of those categories, they'll all be reviewed by Pencil, by Herschel, and NAEA. Once we get the top 20, then that top 20 will be contacted and you'll receive special mentorship from NAEA, Herschel, as well as Pencil in the month of January. Throughout that entire month of January, we'll give you different feedback, tips on what you can do to further elevate the design you actually submitted. And also the beauty of being in that top 20 is all of you will receive a $200 gift card from Herschel Supply. I'll repeat it again. Once you get to the top 20, each of you will receive a $200 gift card from Herschel Supply. That's worth it within itself, just to even try to enter and get to that point. But once you get there, as I mentioned to you before, what we want to do for that month of January is really help introduce you to the different tricks and tips, the idea of providing skill building and focus on the design process so you can really kind of get tips of how it's done from a professional point of view, as well as help you revise and improve your presentation so you can have these opportunities to elevate what design you submitted and just take it to that next level. Once that January month is over, we'll review all the submissions once again, and then we'll select the top 2 students in each of those 2 categories. Each of those 2 categories will select the top 2, and then you will both be able to attend the actual national NAEA convention in New York City in March of 22. Again, you'll be able, those 2 in each category will actually be able to come to New York and attend the NAEA National Convention in March. All expenses are paid for through Herschel, as well as the idea of the same 4 students will then receive a trip to Vancouver, BC. as well later on in the year. You get these amazing coupons, the $200 gift cards for the first 20. Then you have an opportunity for the final 4 to come to New York. And then lastly, you have another opportunity to come to Vancouver, BC. Oh, wait. And then there's one other opportunity that's going to happen. Jamie, do you want to share with them what that last piece is?
I think the key is just to continue that education. We want to give away 2 $10,000 scholarships.
Wow.
Wow. I mean, I really hope we get the enrollment we want, because this program, I appreciate, NAEA and Pencil and all the work you guys have put in on top. So it's going to be amazing to see. So.
Wow. I hope people heard that though. Can you share it one more time with them?
Just make sure
they heard it.
Yeah, we're thrilled. We're going to do 2 $10,000 scholarships to continue your creative education on past that. So that's, I hope that's enough to sign up. And again,
I hope so. And honestly, that was one of the gifts that we loved about working with Herschel, is that just your honest and sincere dedication to the arts and wanting to help, aspiring designers move forward with their careers. So thank you. I will say thank you from I'm a design dad, so I have a daughter that's in design. So I understand the value of what's happening today.
Amazing. Thanks, Dwayne. Amazing to see everything come together.
Yeah. Thank you.
Well, I just want to say on behalf of NAEA and the Honor Society, huge heartfelt thanks, Jamie, to you and Herschel Supply and all your colleagues for this great opportunity and support. And we know that all of the opportunities along the way are so meaningful for that. Just everyone who goes through the design process, the 20, the 2, especially with the $10,000 for each of those top 2, that's really tremendous and amazing. I know folks are really excited in the chat, and what a unique opportunity. And Dwayne, your team and your expertise and your passion for this work. And I'm so excited for not just the students that get into that 20, but it's so rare that you're in a cohort, right? You're in a group from everywhere. You're coming from across the country, from across Canada, and you're able to be in this unique cohort of students that have different perspectives, and you're honing your design skills, right? And that's one of the ways we know we make each other better. So we really appreciate this partnership, and I know it means a lot to our folks. I'm going to go ahead and ask my colleague to take us off the slide share, and because we're in the rare opportunity of having a few extra minutes, let's see if there's any, I'll manage this, but any questions in the chat that we might address on the competition. And then I did have a few follow-up questions to our conversation that I saw in the chat that I think would be helpful for folks to hear. So we're seeing lots of thank you, this is amazing, an unbelievable opportunity. I think folks are accessing the materials. I'm just going through this fabulous opportunity for our students. Oh, here, so Jane, will the selected design be manufactured at Herschel?
I know that's one thing we are working through. We will definitely manufacture their design here in our workshop. So we'll work through that. And I know there was conversation about actually how could we commercialize it in a sense. And so there's no plan as of yet, but yes, definitely with our skills and working with our workshop here, they will walk out with the design bag. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yep. Which to me is actually really the designer's dream, when you can see what you put on paper as a physical object. Like there's nothing like that moment when you see it for the first time.
Yeah, so one of the things we're working on is, can that mock-up be present at our national convention in New York, so the students and members can see it. So we'll at least have an image if we don't have the 3-dimensional one, but I know we're working on that behind the scenes because we know how exciting it would be to actually have that tangible 3-dimensional, those 2 designs. So we're working on that. I see Mark ask, can students from Canada enter? Of course.
Yes.
If our colleagues and sponsors from Vancouver are behind this, you better believe Canada can definitely participate. So that's really awesome. Let me see what else here. Thanks for discussing career opportunities. All right. I think that's all the questions on the competition, but just to reiterate, and I'll do the slide again at the end, it's specifically for National Art Honor Society, grades 9 to 12, opening today through December 8th. There's 2 different pieces to that you can submit. One is the graphic design and one is the product design, but you could actually do both. And then after December 8th, we'll have members from each of the 3 teams that'll review those, and we'll get down to that 20 who will participate in these design studios and workshops virtually through them. I should emphasize that virtually through the month of January. And then the top 2 will be selected, and that's early March 3, 4, 5 in New York City for our national convention. And I know there was a question. We're assuming that the students that are selected will have chaperones, so we'll discuss with those winners whether that's a parent or teacher. We can work through that. We are also dedicating a session at convention to have the students talk through their design process, and hopefully my friends here will be able to join us in some capacity to talk through that. And then we will also, that'll culminate with the trip to Vancouver to Herschel Supply's headquarters and see how, see the behind the scenes process, and like Jamie said, all those pieces and the multiple touch points. So we're really excited about this. And they're like Dwayne said, the entry point is through their website, but our website has all the information, and my team from NAEA will be getting this out to everybody along with the links that are in the chat. Sound good? It's very exciting. I know we're going to get a ton of submissions already, but like you said, Dwayne, they're definitely going to come in December.
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, I think this is a rare opportunity for, the teachers actually to trick these kids into learning, where they all have backpacks, but they've never probably thought about designing their own backpack, or they never thought about both adding graphics and color, or even making it more personalized and functional the way they would like to see it. And now here's your opportunity to trick these kids into learning. And oh, by the way, they can have all these other amazing things happen along as well within that whole idea. So this directly answers that question that you asked earlier, Don.
Yep, and I love the problem solving that's built into this, but also the fashion design. And we had that. I wish our audience could have heard that great conversation where we talked about where those 2 things meet, product design and fashion design, and where they might head in different directions. But one of the things that, Dawn, I wonder if you might help talk about a little bit. I see a lot of questions in the chat. Folks are wanting to know how they start an honor society chapter and what their first steps might be. And I know my team already put the link in on how to start a chapter at your school. So essentially you need a sponsor, register with NAEA, and that's how you get started. So that link is there. Ty, I know you're on, maybe you'll put your email in the chat if you don't mind for folks to reach out to. And Dawn, maybe you can give us a few pointers on how to get started.
Yeah, I would definitely start to identify a population of students that you were looking to hopefully enroll into your chapter. Different chapters have different standards for who they admit into their chapter. Sometimes there's GPA parts that come into play there, arts-based GPA versus a general GPA. You might send letters out to anyone who qualifies for your chapter. You might just announce it. A lot of times an induction is involved as well, where you have a night that sometimes a guest artist comes to speak, and you have kind of a celebration of these student artists, and then kind of hit the ground running at different meetings, having kind of focusing on arts-based community service problems that maybe, or projects that are in your area, problems that your kids might see out there in their community that they want to work together to make creative change on, but kind of just figuring out some of the bylaws and the logistics to begin with, and then inviting as many as you can to your table to kind of make some creative change. I'd love to follow up with anyone too that wanted more advice as well.
Excellent. That's so helpful. And I love that arts and service to the community. And I see our colleague Andrea also mentioned that it's a really important opportunity. And also, as someone who knows how school districts work, oftentimes this could fall under the banner of a after-school club or even an in-school club. And sometimes schools have funds for sponsors for those clubs, which can also help keep things moving along. So that's something else to look into if you are interested. But I know, once again, my team put the links in there, and Ty Butler, who's new to my team, is our key person for Honor Society programming. So Ty, thank you so much for being kind enough to put your email in there. And as we begin to wrap up, so we have this great opportunity and we have such an active audience, I wanted to make sure we honored some of the things that were on their minds. And so I'm just going to do a quick round robin to cover each of you, and then I'm going to do my wrap up point. So Tanner, well, first of all, you think you're going to submit one of these designs?
Yeah, I probably will. It seems very interesting.
I mean, I figured.
Yeah.
I mean, you have no excuse, Tanner.
Yeah,
like
I mean,
you have no
you have
excuse
the
whatsoever.
inside scoop. You have the inside scoop. Tanner, is
Yeah.
it? Do you have in the art and design space? Are there any mentors or icons that you really look up to?
One of my favorite fashion designers is Iris Van Herpen. She's one of my favorites. She really utilizes new textiles and really incorporates 3D printing into her looks, and I think that's really cool and innovative. That's one of my big role models in the fashion design realm.
I love that. It's so good to just have a sort of a go-to, someone who you can look up to, you get inspired by. Jamie, when you were talking, one of the things I heard about your role, if I heard this correctly, is that you're sort of looking at 5 or 10 years out. You're sort of like looking to the future through your work, through systems. Are you seeing what glimpse of what's to come? Can you give us any sense of where design or your work is headed?
I think why I say 5 to 10 years out is because it's such an unknown space that if we're not looking out that far to think about how our true end consumer, or how our brand can really play a role in people's lives and make it easier to travel and have a positive impact on this globe and become a better company on that side, to become carbon neutrality and every touch point. I mean, these are big topics that we talk about every day, and if we don't start thinking about it now to really implement real change, it's not going to happen. And that's why I look so far out, really, to try to reverse design systems that we think will benefit, not just to put more product out, but to put product out that is truly needed and services that are truly needed. Because what will our company be in 10 years? It is a service company or is it a product company? I can't answer that today. And that's the exciting thing, I think, about looking that far into the future, away from just current line architecture and designs and color and patterns. That's why we try to steer that far into the future. And not saying, we're not starting Herschel hotels tomorrow, but it's if you think big picture and then roll everything back, I think that's where the exciting time comes. So.
Well, and I think that's such a great point for our young people to hear and be thinking about. I mean, there's so many problems to solve today, right, in the present day, but also keeping a mindset for the future is really helpful, because that's how you sort of get ahead of the curve and, you can really bring some of those innovations. So I appreciate that. Yeah,
I'm a true believer in looking through the windshield, not in the rearview mirror. And I think that's just, don't be scared to change. I think that's the biggest thing for the company, where some people are scared to pivot, and I'm not. I find that exciting.
That's great.
It's a big strength. Dwayne, I wonder if I might pick on you to touch on, can you talk through your product design, fashion design piece? Because I think that's an interesting thing for our folks to hear that are with us.
Yeah, I mean, I think what's interesting is, even with this challenge, we offer 2 careers, right? One is in the graphic design side, and the second is in the product design side. A big chunk of what we try to do is provide multiple options and career paths. So this challenge offers 2. What we were talking about a bit earlier is, the idea of fashion design and fashion designers, and the differences between fashion design and product design, where the way that fashion designers are classically trained to really create and design for themselves, or create a collection, that's for themselves, where product designers are really trained to create products for someone else. So there's always a target consumer in mind with the idea of solving problems. And so the more that our youth can be exposed to product design, fashion design, graphic design, then they start to understand where the extensions of where those careers can lead them, right? So graphic design is a natural extension into packaging, which, if we drink Pepsi, there's graphic design. Or if we have chips, a bag of chips, that's graphic design, right? And so it's just getting our youth to understand the extensions of these different career tracks. Product design is pretty much almost any object that you have in front of you that is used for a function, right? And then the same for fashion design, where It really is about creating that emotional connection with your product that you've created to your consumer target. Or even if it is for you, you're sharing it with the world based on what your influences are and what your style preferences are. So I think a lot of the youth right now see a lot of the products through that lens of, hey, this is what I like emotionally. It creates an emotional response, physically, either through the colors, the materials, the graphics, or even the shape of the object.
Thank you so much for talking that through. And then Don, you're going to close us out, and then I'll go to my final points. I saw some questions earlier. Could you help folks think through a little bit of the relationship between the arts and CTE and how it sounds like you navigate that pretty well. But for folks that know what high school looks like, oftentimes the career technical ed might have the tools and the funding, but the arts bring the sort of creativity and design. So how do you navigate that?
Our arts-based CTE programs, graphics, the video production, or photography kind of live in both lands a little bit. Financially, they live in the CTE program, but kind of conceptually, they're living with the art. We're in a bigger art and media program. So they ideate a little bit more with us. And then there's a lot of more kind of managerial things that help them under the CTE umbrella. And we have a really passionate teacher that is the graphics teacher who is trying to pull the rest of CTE into this vein of being more in this art and media strand. So I have some really great colleagues helping and supporting. So
I love that. And, I think the more we can blur those lines, blur in a good way, blur those lines, the stronger the opportunities are for our young people.
Exactly.
Yep.
And I know a lot of these questions that came up for folks, we typically follow up with everyone who attends a town hall. So I know my team can put together some helpful links to guide you in a couple of different directions here. So as we wrap up, can everyone please join me in a thunderous virtual round of applause for all of our guests, to Tanner, Dawn, Dwayne, and Jamie for joining us in this really fun, exciting, and insightful conversation. You can hear the applause in the background. I know you can. And also thanks to Dwayne and Jamie and their teams for creating this opportunity through the design workshop. So we hope to see lots and lots of submissions. And like I said, all those materials and information will be rolling out. So I know that I feel really fortunate that I'm walking away with this from this conversation with these ideas. I love the Rock the Runway, the art signing days, giving back to the community, art making explorations that focus on choice and voice, leadership, risk-taking, pushing learners to the edge of their comfort zone, guide and inspiring and mentor, remembering the best tool you have is your brain, focus on developing those hand skills, the power of graphics, using design to solve problems, and then being involved at multiple touch points in a process. What great takeaway. So I really thank our experts that joined us tonight. And if we could please bring up the closing slides, we will, I promise, land on the design slide will be there we go. So just so you know, if you like tonight's conversation, you can get immediately from this QR code a takeaway and this front and back one-pager handout that has some additional thoughts from all of our guests this evening. So please download this from the screen now, or you can go to the town hall website at NAEA. If you really feel the resonance of this community, you got ideas, you're inspired, you want to create a chapter for your students, please consider joining the National Art Education Association as a member, because this is where we all lock arms and we fight the good fight to make sure that arts education is thriving in every school across the country, which is my personal passion project. But please join us. There's tons of supports and opportunities growing every day. So please consider that. And this is the particular slide addressing our National Art Honor Society and Junior Art Honor Society. So the handbook has tons of information. This QR code will get you to these resources because it really outlines all the steps that you need to know and all the benefits. But, especially needing to be an NHS student in order to enter the competition is a good motivator. And we know we have, in a typical year, over 50,000 students that participate. So we're really excited for those numbers, especially now that there's some opportunities to come back together in schools and in clubs and in after school sessions. Like we said, our national convention is in-person, hybrid, virtual, all options. It's choose your own adventure, March 3 to 5 in New York City, 2022. We're really excited. This is the first convening of its kind with all these layers, but like we said, you can meet the winners of the design competition. And it's also, you know, the largest gathering of art educators. And we typically have over 5,000 folks and about 600 to 800 member-led workshops and some awesome keynotes and presenters. And we will be very safe and follow all the New York City guidelines for COVID. So please check that out. Our upcoming webinar focusing on organizing student art exhibits for maximum success on November 3rd. Please consider joining. And then our webcast that's coming up is Artists, Ecological Issues, and Activism on October 28th. This one is free to everyone. Our national awards program, these are announced and given at national convention. What an opportunity to receive recognition from your peers, but to take that recognition back home and use that street cred to further your arts programs. Whether you're K-12, college, higher ed, museum, community-based artists, these awards can have a lot of street credit for you. So please consider nominating someone. We extended this deadline till November 1. For most all of them, there's a beautiful glass award. For a few of them, there is a cash prize. But regardless, it's an awesome opportunity to be recognized for your great work and contributions. And our next town hall on November 23rd is looking at innovative practices in visual arts design and media arts. And a lot of this innovation is coming out of the last 20 months to see, you know, we've heard the word pivot, but how have we pivoted and what lessons are we taking forward, but what innovative practices? We have some teacher practitioners as well as some artists and a STEAM expert as well. So we're really excited for that mix of perspectives that we'll bring together on the 23rd. And then in closing, the Herschel Workshop Design Challenge. We're so excited about it. Starting today, right now through December 8th, please encourage students to participate and apply. And we're so excited to see all the really fresh designs that are going to come from this. Okay, friends, that is a wrap. We are exactly on time. Thank you again for joining us, and thank you to my guest, and we will see you next time.